Hello everyone, this is Dimitri with Ukidz LLC, operating website UGears.us. Today we're going to be opening and putting together Harry Potter Golden Snitch, one of the newer models. It's pretty easy to put together, only 120 parts, and should not take a lot. More like a smaller model, but pretty cool. I've seen it in operation. So let's start by opening the packaging, removing the side lock here, and I'm just going to use a tool to help me out a little bit to get that paper out and get it open. So it's a newer style box. It's all paper, there is no plastic on it, and we got it out. Let's see, let me get the garbage away. So the tools that I have that I do use sometimes, sometimes not, but I do have a precision file that's replacing a sandpaper for me. I do have a kind of like a scalpel or a knife to cut the parts out if they're too long and fragile. Scissors just in case for the string cutting, and extra wax, candle wax. So let's get into the model. We do have two kind of like medium-sized board, I mean equivalent to one board of a regular size model. I'm gonna put it aside. Obviously instructions manual, smaller board with the wings for the snitch. I'm gonna put it aside because we're not gonna need it until the end probably. Obviously the string that we're gonna need to use, and a little baggie with spring, sandpaper, wax, and I think that's it. So let's put these boxes aside. I don't need these internal components. Make sure that we are on record, and start with the manual. So as always with UGears, there's some assembly instructions. Break the parts out. If they don't remove very easily, use the knife to cut out the connection points. Yada yada yada. Do not burn the candle. Candle wax. There's some symbols that are through the manual. We got exclamation mark where you need to pay attention. Little gear with the wax and the toothpick. That's their symbol for waxing the parts. Then a sandpaper to sand the parts. Mechanical motion, so there should be mechanism should be moving. Rulers you need to measure, obviously. Scissors to cut parts, or strings, I guess, or rubber bands or whatever. And then this is kind of like a little fan showing that the parts need to freely move around. So it's not mechanical connection, but more just like moving on its axis or something. There's also a list of all the parts that are replacement pieces, additional pieces available on the boards, just in case if you break something. And also showing you that you need to remove the connection burrs or little connector points that are on the gears, just to make sure that the operation is nice and easy. Also, there is a helping tool which is on board number 2 and bottom right corner here, and that's the tool that you can use to punch some of the parts out, put them together, and so on. So that's very useful. I use it throughout the assembly. It helps you out a lot. So let's start with the assembly. The first step is on page 6. We need board number 1, we need part number 1. Both of them looking down further into the assembly. So the parts number 1 are on the board number 1 top right and left corners within the part number 9. So easy pushing them out just to make sure that we don't break the part number 9. Then we need parts number 2. Part number 2 are on the same board, bottom left here. A little bit to the left of the middle line, so I remove the whole parts, and that's where that helping tool is coming into the play. And I guess my fingers too, a little hard to push these out. And the first step, we need to have part number 1, make sure the arrows are pointing in clockwise direction, and we insert parts number 2 in the outermost rectangular openings. So I'll kind of like pre-insert them a little bit because they're tiny little parts, hard on the fingers a little bit. So pre-insert them into the connection points. Another tip, I guess suggestion, you can use wax to get them there easily. And then I use my helping tool just to push them all the way in. Make sure that they're sitting nice and flush with the surface of part number 1. Next step, we're going to rotate it so one of the rectangular openings are on the bottom, and I'm going to do probably the same way as the picture showing. So there is 2 parts number 2, kind of maybe like 25, maybe 30 degrees away from the little rectangular opening, and that's where I'm gonna use my part number H. I don't know if it matters in the assembly. That's the way it's shown in the pictures, and that's what I'm gonna do. So now we take the spring. Make sure your spring unwinds in the counterclockwise direction, and we're just gonna put it out like inside the centerpiece inside that part number 1. And let's see, there's exclamation point, so just make sure that the first loop, so we're gonna do 360 degrees, and then as it goes outside, it needs to go outside of part number 2. So the first loop is inside, and then the second loop's gonna go outside of this little tab. All right, and then that's where the second part 1 comes into the play. Once again, directional arrows pointing clockwise. Let's see, we need to make sure that we find the same rectangle to put the helping tool through, and to lock the spring into the place. It's kind of like a guiding, just to make sure that you get the internal rectangles lined up, opening holes. So now the part is in, and now we can take the tool, helping tool out. Once again, just make sure that you're locked in all the way around. Part number 2, you can use, once again, use a little bit of a wax if it doesn't go easy, snaps easy. That will help you to put the part on. Let's see, we're moving on to the page number 7, and we need on here 2 parts number 4 and 2 parts number 3. Parts number 3 are at the top of board number 1, so just push both of them out. And parts number 4, there's 1 spare on the left, but there's 2 right below the parts number 3, so we need those 2. And let's see, so it says that we need to sand the outside of part number 4, so just kind of use the sandpaper, or if you do use the file, kind of rotate it around, make sure that the outside of part number 4 is nice and sanded, nice and smooth, before we put any application of wax on it. And then you just use that wax stick that we got to put a wax all around it. On part number 4, I would also, as I mentioned, in order for the easier connection, I would put a little bit of a wax on part number 3 on both of them, on the outside kind of burnt surfaces. And then let's see, we're gonna go from the back. Make sure that when you handle the spring, it doesn't fall out. So just kind of like situate it to make sure that that little flat portion of the spring is visible through the hole there. And then we need to put those parts number 3 over that spring. So there's probably a couple different ways you can do it. You can insert the top portion. Oh, you can't. Just make sure that the spring doesn't move around much. Move it with part number 3 just to make sure it's situated properly. Just like this. And I'm gonna put part number 4 over on one side, locking it in. Push that part completely through on the other side, so that way the spring is kind of locked in between the 2 parts number 3, and then we'll lock it with number 4 on the other side. So probably need to squeeze the parts together a little bit, because the spring will separate them a little bit slightly. And I turn it around and just push it against the to make sure that the parts are flat, but push against the surface. So just like this. Oh, I pushed it a little too hard. So we need to make sure that parts number 4 seated all the way onto part number 3. Now step number 6, with your arrows facing you, we put a little helping tool over part number 4. make sure it doesn't, or number 3s, I'm sorry. Make sure it doesn't push through that part's number 3. And then we wind the spring kind of going into the clockwise direction where the arrows are pointing. So as we wind it, our step 3 within winding, within step number 6, is that we will need to lock that little lip of the spring onto this little part number 2 once we get to it. So as you can see, the spring, as I'm winding, it's going to get to that part number 2. I need to hold that part 3 and 4 to make sure it doesn't unwind, and then push the spring over onto port number 2, and then you can let it go so it'll unwind a little, and then the spring will stay inside nice and tuck. So that's our part number A1, and we're gonna put it aside. We're done with page number 7. Moving on to the page number 8, we need nylon thread, 1000 millimeters of it. If we don't need any more through the assembly, this is probably going to be the length that you need. So I'm going to measure it out. Let's see, that's about 500, and then you don't need to be exact, and that's another 500. So we're at 1,000, and I got only a little left, so most likely we're not going to need any more, so I'm just going to leave it as is. As probably we're going to be cutting these ends because they're already kind of like separating. You can put a little bit of a wax on it, or just kind of cut them off so they're nice and clean as you need them. Let's see. So we need step number 1 on page number 8. We need part number 5. So parts number 5 are on the bottom right of board number 1. And let's see, we need 1 for now to start with, and then we're going to need the rest for the step number 1 on the right of that page. All right, so we have the first one. We push the string through, and it looks like we're going to need to cut it. So those are the steps 1 through 7 or 6 on there. And let's see, 2 times. All right, so with little tap facing down, we push the string through and give it a little bit of a leeway, pull it around behind the string, creating a loop, and then push it within the loop. I'm gonna get a little bit longer there string, so push it into that loop that you just created. Come on, get in, and make a nut. There you go. That's number 1. Then we go and make another loop, tying it up. It's number 2. Then we're gonna wrap the string and do 2 more nuts on it, just to make sure it doesn't untie. And locking it together that it's nice and strong. It does say twice, so make sure that string is over the tab though. Let's see, and then a second nut. Alrighty, just make sure it's not nice and tight, and then we can cut that extra string off. You don't have to flush it, but close enough. And now we take that little A1, and let's see, we can probably do the same thing. Make sure the arrows are clockwise direction. I'm gonna have that circular one, so this needs to go into about like 11 o'clock position. I guess it wouldn't matter, but just to be on the safe side, That's where I'm gonna stick it to, and push it in. With the tab going towards the inside, obviously. All right, I'm gonna use my helping tool. So I kind of started pushing it in a little hard. So I'm gonna, with the helping tool, I'm gonna push it all the way in, so it's nice and flush. And then I'm gonna push it from one side and the other side, just to make sure it's evenly, sits evenly in the little sub-assembly. I want to make sure it's flush with the surface completely on both sides, the outer surface, just like this. So flush here, flush at the top, flush on the other side. There's no holes or anything like that. So, and now we need the rest. That's a step number 1. On page number 8, we need the rest of the part, part number 5, all around. I'm going to use the helping tool to get these out here. Make sure that we are still on record. Get the connection points off. And that's where my knife probably going to come into the play, because I can't get that little piece off. There you go. And we just go all around and insert these parts into these slots. Let's see if we're gonna do a little bit of a wax. Let's see if it's gonna come in a little easier. Theoretically, it should. It's hard to get these lined up. I wish they made it a little easier, but it is what it is. So we need to line it up, line them up, push them a little in. Nope. That's a little struggle here. All right, need to figure out how I did the first one in order to be able to do the other one. Now let's see if I do one side first. Nope. Here we go. Lining them up is a pain, but I'll go insert them first, and then we'll see. Coming back and aligning them would be the second step. So one is in. I did put a little bit of wax, so let's do that. I'm gonna put a little bit of wax on all these edges here. All around. I got 2 in so far. I guess we can call it a progress. And let's try the other ones. Number 2. I guess if you start with one side and then push the other side in, once it locks in into the first one, then it's going to go into the second one. So one side and then the other. I guess that's the way. Start one side and then the other. 2 more. One side and then the other. And then I'm not worried about lining them up again, yet. I'm going to go through it and line them up in a second. One side and then a little more. Let's see. One more. One side and then the other. All right. And now I'm going to use the tool just to make sure that it sits in. So flush, flush, all the way in, and then make sure it doesn't stick out on either end. So I'm going one side, flushing it on one side first, and then make sure it's flush with this surface too. So I'm going to use the tool just to push it in, some of them. And then turn it around and do the same thing just to make sure it's flush. Make sure your string is still intact and still sitting there. That one's flush, 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 and flush. All right, all of them are flush and sitting perfectly. And we're done with step number 1 on page 8 on the right hand side. Moving on to the page number 9, step number 2. Let's see, with the string at the top, the arrows pointing clockwise direction. We need parts number 6, 3 of them, and part number 7. So part number 7, let's see, is on the right hand side and the left hand side here of the board. So we'll take that out first, and parts number 6 are, let's see, right at the center here. So there are 6 of them, and we're gonna need more on the next step, and another part number 7. So let's take that one out too while we at it. All right, part number 7, we do need to sand all around and wax all around on the outside. Alrighty, sanding is done. Alright, and then we'll wax outside of part number 7. There are also airs on it, so there's going to be directionality on how we put it in. Alright, and then part number 6, we just need to punch them out. I'm going to use my helping tool here. Alright, and let's see, first parts counterclockwise, or clockwise, sorry, I apologize. And then we're going to pre-insert these part number 6 into little holes, the ones that are closer to the center here. Easier said than done. Just should have waxed them too, but once again, you just need to pre-insert them, and then you can use either surface or helping tool to get them inside completely. And that's, let's see, I'm doing the helping tool all the way in. Let's see, we're still make sure arrows are facing. We're going to take part number 7 and insert it the same way the arrows are facing. We're going to go over part number 6, so it should go on and lock up, and make sure you push it all the way to the surface. So we still see the arrows, and then we're going to turn it around and do part number 6 again. Pre-insert, make sure it doesn't fall out, and then use the tool to push it in. All the way in. And now part number 7, there is a little arrow pointing. Make sure the arrows are pointing the same direction. And then I would probably also see if I can get these openings lined up. And push it in. So arrows facing counterclockwise direction in this on this side, and clockwise directions on the opposite side. So now that was step number 3, and then last step to finish up the A3 part, we need to sand and wax on the outside where these little connections are with part number 5. So just to make sure that not only it's flush, but also you sand it and wax it. So I'm gonna go and kind of, as I'm rotating around against the, once you get to the string, you gotta be a little bit careful though, because you don't wanna sand the string off. And so, and there, here I'm gonna use my little file on the sides. I'm not gonna go in the center, just to make sure it's nice and flush on both ends. And then I'm gonna wax all around. And that's our part number A3 subassembly. All right, moving on to the page number 10. Now we need step 1, parts number 9, top and right and left side. Here we're done and finished. Let's see, and then we need part number 8, 2 of them. Part number 8 are in the bottom. There's some spare ones. 1 and 2. And let's see, we need to sand and wax on the inside of these parts. So I'm just gonna fold this little sandpaper and sand it all around. One, and then the second one. And then wax it. All around on inside. And then we do need to wax part number 8. Make sure you remove all the burrs, and we need to wax these little tabs on here. So just put some wax on there. And some wax on the other one. Interlock is shown on the picture. And then we put these two together, so with the little tabs facing towards you on both of those, the part number 8 is going to go into these 2 holes right next to the large hole. 1 and 2. And then we need 3 parts number 10, step number 2, and 1 part number 11. So number 10s are bottom left, and there's 1 extra on the bottom right. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and then part number 11 right at the center here, and 1 extra just in case on the right. So I'm gonna put a 11 on the side so I don't mix them up. And let's see, part number 10 is gonna go, so if the hole, that larger hole is on top, it's gonna go right here, to the right of it, to the left of it, and then 1 kind of like diagonally closer to the right hand side. And then 11 is gonna go right on the left side, on the bottom there. So let's start with the closest hole on the right. Let's see if it needs to fit into those little slots. 10. The one like on the other side of the tabs. Let's see, I'm gonna push these first, flush them out. Number 10 here. Push it in. Let's see. Against the surface. Flush. And then 11 is going to go on the opposite. And then the last hole with the little rectangular opening facing outwards. And in similar fashion, similar direction. Let's see. All the way in, flush, flush, flush. Almost flush. Need to rotate that one, number 10, a little bit. That one's flush, that one's flush. I can't, all right, here. I'm gonna reinsert that one. There we go. Just to make sure it is flush. All right. All right, so this is step number 2. Next step, let me see, that one's all fine. Next step is number 3 on the bottom here of page number 10. We need 2 parts number 12 and 1 part number 13. They're at the top center here, so the 12 is on the left and right. And then 13 is right at the center. Alrighty, so these gonna go on these tabs. Make sure that your design kind of facing up. Top and bottom for the 12. And then let's see, make sure that the letters facing you. I open at the close, at the close. That one's gonna go right at the center. All right, and that's our A4. Moving to this side, clean up the surface a little bit. Check video. And moving on to the page number 11, step 1, or parts number 14, bottom left and bottom right. Then part number 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Let's see, they're all on board number 1. So let's see, 17, we got it to the right, on our right hand side. There's one on the left. 15 is kind of right at the center there. Let's see, 16 is going to be right at the center line. All right, so we got 16, 17, and 18 is within these little gears. So I'm going to take the gears out. I'm assuming that's a gear 21, both of those. And then take the insides of it out, pushing it from the other end just to make sure that the burrs stay on the inner, not the outer surfaces. Clean out the burrs here on the gear a little bit. And same thing on the other one. Push it out and then push 118 out for now. Put these aside. All right, so here we need to sand all around part number 16. and 18. And then also part number 17 on inside of the little hook. We'll do a little bit of sanding and waxing. And then wax on a 16 and then 18 on the outside too. All right, we do have our exclamation point for part number 15. So let's take a look at it in a second. All right, so that's our part number 15. Make sure, let's see, there's like, if you look at it from the top, there's like a little tiny triangle here and a large one. So a large one should face to the left. And then part number 15 is gonna go, let's see, just like this into the part number 14, but we need to put 16 on first. The 16 is the largest one and it has to go all the way to the ends here. So kind of push it in, and maybe I would put a little bit of wax here. So it fits all the way in. And then we take part number 14, make sure this longer tab facing to the right, and we're gonna insert that 15 with the 16 from the back. Once again, you need to make sure that this little larger, smaller triangle facing to the right, just like this. And let's see. Make sure it sits in here, and then 17 with the hook facing to the left. All the way in, just like this, and then 18 to lock it all up. And once again, when you look at it, make sure that hook is facing to the left down, right? So that's the green check mark point here. That's our step 1. And then let's see, we need to put parts number 19 and in these 3 outside tabs or openings. So part number 19 are on the bottom here at the center. For now, we just need 3. And then these go onto the outermost 3 rectangular openings. 1, 2, and 3. Helping tool just to get those in, all the way in. All right, and that's our A5, and we just need to make sure that this part is freely moving on its axis. So you might want to just give it like a few spins to make sure it's moving nice and smooth. All right, that's our page 11 A5. Put it aside. Going on to the page number 12, and we need to make a similar mirror image of the same assembly. So part number 14, part number 17, part number 16, part number 15, and part number 18 on the inside of here. Sending part number 18, 17, and 16. Check on the video, make sure we're still good to go, and then waxing these parts. And as I mentioned, we're doing the mirror image of the other one. So let's see. Part number 16 over 15. Oh, gonna put a little bit of wax on 15 just to make sure that everything goes on nice and smooth and all the way to the end. All the way to the end. Part number 14 Now the tab is to the left. We go from the back. Let's see, with the larger triangle, smaller triangle facing left, and then we put our 17 over with the hook facing right. Make sure it's nice and straight. All the way in, as far as it can go. And then lock it up with the 18. All right, so once again, the little triangle left, the hook right, and all good to go. Now 3 ports number 19, similar fashion. They're gonna go on the outside holes. 1, 2, and 3. Use the helping tool just to get those in all the way flush by supporting the sub-assembly. Here we go, all the way, and then we're just making sure that this moves freely all around without any delays. All right, we're page number 13, put that on the side. We take our larger sub-assembly A4 with the wording facing you and the hole on the left-hand side. Let's see. Now we take the little sub-assembly with a string. The string is gonna go right where the hole is at, over part number 8. So we need to feed it through. And probably doesn't matter from which side. Just need to get it in all the way, and then as we put the part number A3 in, you need to make sure the arrows are facing, the top arrows are facing clockwise direction, just like this, all the way in, and the string is out on this way. And let's see, and now we need to wind it up the direction that arrow is pointing. Correct. Yep. So kind of turn it within the sub-assembly and wind it up until you have about 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters left. All right, let's see if we can turn it nice and easy. A little tough right now. Until all the wax is gonna spread out, all the burr is gonna work out a little bit. Once again, wind it in the direction of the arrows. And as you move it, it's gonna go easier and easier, may pop out a little bit. Put it back in, give it a spin, until you have about 5 centimeters left of the string. Maybe a little bit longer because we did leave extra string on there. We didn't cut it to 1,000 millimeters, so I probably leave a little bit longer. I probably would leave maybe 10 centimeters or so. Let's see, a little bit more, but that's just in my case. If you guys cut it to 100 or 1,000, just leave it 5. So I'm about right. Okay, and then let's see. Now we need step number 3 on page number 13. We need parts number 20. Part number 20, these little pieces are that were within the 21 gears, and you do need the little helping tool to get these out because they're tiny and probably your fingers won't catch on it. And we need to send it on inside of these little hooks. Have no idea. No. Just make sure you remove all the burrs. And that's what I'm doing, or connection points. And these gonna go over that little our sub-assembly. And the way we're gonna put them in, we need to make sure that the largest hole is on the left, all the writing is towards you. We're going into that side, and we're inserting these little tabs or hooks where the arrows are pointing to, little openings. And let's see, all around. And then the next step, number 4, is that little gear that we pulled out. Gear number 21, we need to make sure that we wax every single tooth. In both directions, on both sides, front and back. All around, and also on inside. And then let's see, there's an arrow, and make sure that arrow is facing the same direction as the arrows on the sub-assembly, and kind of rotating a little bit, slide it over, and that's gonna get it right on there. Moving on to the page number 14, step number 5, part 1. We're gonna take our A5, which was the first assembly that we did. That's where the tab's facing to the right and the hook's facing to the left. I'm gonna turn it over, and then we're gonna put it over the sub-assembly. So we're gonna rotate it this way. There's 2 holes here, 1 hole right at the top, and then these little sub-assembly with the hook's gonna go into here, and this hook needs to lock into these little which we'll call it teeth. And then also we do have that center, so I would want to rotate this a little bit further, that center piece. Make sure that it's also fits within this hole right here. So I'm gonna, oh, and then also helping tool just to get in between here, so like when you connect it together, you don't break it accidentally. So let's see how we can do this to make sure that everything fits in perfectly. All right, so I'm gonna start with the bottom 2 pieces. Then I'm gonna rotate that part number 3 that's inside a little bit, just to make sure. And actually, let's connect these all the way, so we have something to lock on. This one's good. Then we rotate this piece, and also make sure that goes in. Start pulling out from this side a little bit, so I'm gonna try to push it back in. One, and then the second one. Make sure it's locked everywhere. And I need to make sure that these 2 guys are also parallel to each other. And are inserted in there. That little number 3 part doesn't want to bulge. There you go. Nice and flush. All right. So everything is connected, and let's see, we're gonna turn it up around and do the same thing on the other side. So we need 3 ports number 20. Send them up a little bit. And insert them, so now your air is going to be pointing the other direction. And a similar sub-assembly. We're gonna do part number 21. 20s are good. Are in there. Part number 21. We need to wax it. All around, and that I'm going to turn it around, wax it the other direction, so make sure all the teeth are waxed on the outside and on inside as well. All right, and then make sure the arrows match. Clean off a little bit. Make sure the arrows matching the direction on here, so we're going to put it around. Over, and then let's see, next step on page number 15, similar situation. We put the little helping tool on the bottom here, and we're going to insert a 6, same fashion, just the opposite side. All right, so I'm going to do this bottom ones first. Centerpiece, make sure this gets into the hole and locks with the little teeth. Like this, and then we're squeeze it all around. Make sure everything is sitting in its place and nice and tight fit. All right, and we can now pull this part out. Now page number 15, gonna take and pull on a string. First it's gonna go pretty hard, and then we're gonna work these guys in, and we need to make sure that it's gonna go back in. So we work these little lugs. All right, it doesn't unwind anymore. I think we're at the end, almost. It's like you would feel the spring a little bit. So as it starts pulling back, work it in a little bit. And then we need to work these little guys on the side to make sure that it goes further. Until it starts winding the whole string back in. And then as you release it, you should see like a little bit of a movement of this little gear. And it should start winding the rubber band, I mean not the rubber band, but string back in. So this once those teeth start catching, it will start moving. So pretty much we're working the mechanism in. May take a little time. Now here it goes, starts moving a little bit. Just need to work them. It says 5 times, but I think we need a little bit more than just 5. That's until those little parts number 20 start catching. And releasing the mechanism. So just play around with it until it starts winding up. Let's see what's the next step. Yeah, we need to make sure that it all works before we proceed any further. That's probably going to take the most time out of the whole assembly, just making sure that I'm still recording. It looks like one side is working or starts to work. As you can see it's moving back up and clicking. Need to make sure that the other side works too. So these all need to move freely. That's why I'm working at it as much as possible. I guess if you wax and send all the parts all the way, it would be a little bit faster and a little bit easier. I was just rushing through just to make sure that you guys get all the information that is needed, rather than me trying to wax all that thing completely. All right, a little progress. Keep on moving. The other one is not catching and not as moving as much as the first one. This side, it seems, my left side seems like working properly, in the sense that this one is moving the gear, as you can see, because those parts number 20 are catching. My other one doesn't work. So we need to work this side too and see why this guy's is not catching. too much wax on this guy. Let's get it off. Now interested to pull this one off. Let's see. Clean up a little bit. Go, a little bit of a movement. So this side operates. The other side is not. And that's my biggest concern and question right now, is that why this guy is not catching. Alrighty, let's see. Here we go. It's supposed to catch and move a little bit easier than what it does. Alright, let's see. Ooh, that's not good. Do not repeat that at home. Oh. Hence we have some spare parts. Alright, teeth are fine. This guy need to clean up a little bit on the wax. Might have put a little bit too much. Make sure it's the same direction as the arrows are pointing, and let me put that back on. Let's see if this fixes it up a little bit. All right, back on. Now this side, yep, I think I got it, but we need to make sure that we work it in. Now the second side. So this side is worked in. Now we need to make sure that this side is worked in. There we go. Got it through. Seems like it's working now, almost. Now both of these need to work up and down a little bit, like this. And once again, you need to make sure that they don't stick. Keep on playing with it until it's easy. And catching on both sides. So this side is not, still not, catching a little bit. So we need, as I said, we need to play with it as much as we can. So both sides are catching. As of right now, I only have one side catching on these little teeth. This one's a little bit, but I need to for it to go a little bit further, so I'm going to continue playing with it. I'm going to put you guys on pause just to make sure that we don't spend all this time just watching me pulling the string. So, okay, so I played, I don't know, I want to say 5 times is definitely not enough. I want to say that was about good 30 minutes or so, pulling back and forth, watching TV, reading news and that. So it's pretty much supposed to do this. If it stocks a little bit, it's supposed to release it if you pull it back, and then all the way in, both of the parts moving, this right side and left side. So pretty much needs to do this with a little tap. It'll continue doing it. So this is not perfect. I mean, it's supposed to be easier, so theoretically you need to play a little bit more with them, but that's where I'm at right now, just to continue assembling. It's pretty much, I mean, there's a little bit of a hiccup, but for most of the part it's just working the way it's supposed to work. All right, so we're gonna move on to page number 16. We need part number 23 and 22. They are, let's see, on board number 2, we got part 23 is the top right corner here. And then the 22 is right below it. There's actually 24s on the bottom of it. So careful taking that out. 24's got UGears on it. 23's got the WBEI copywriting. And then 22s are within it. And so they both go on a 23 and 24. So I'm just gonna take these out, push those out. You can use helping tool. To get these 4 parts out. All right, 23, they go with this little hole into the outmost openings, and then they should go as far as you can push them. Theoretically should be flush. Let's see, and I'm gonna flush it against the surface so it's just easier on your fingers. Same thing with part number 24. So once again, it's just like you start with the pushing it in, make sure it gets into the hole, and then you can use the helping tool, or I push it against the surface just to get it nice and flush. So now we take our sub-assembly, these guys away from you, and we're gonna insert the helping tool right here. And so we got a little hole here, so that's where part 23 is gonna go on the left side, and UGears is gonna go on the right side. With the writing facing upwards, I guess it wouldn't matter, but then I would put a little bit of a wax on both ends of these little tabs. That way they will slide much easier into the corresponding holes. So then you see it yourself. One side was fine, a little bit more wax on the other one. So my one side doesn't get in pretty easy, and I'll put a little bit of a squeeze on there, and a little bit more wax, just to make sure that we can get it in. And I'm gonna start with this side. Other side, and then same thing with UGears. With a little opening here, all the way in. All right. So after that is done, we need part number. We're on page number 17. Part number, step number 3, part number 25. So 3 and 4. So let's see, that's gonna go, the helping tool is gonna go into here for these holes. And then we need port number 25s. They're on board number 2, top left, I guess, and middle. All right, so the same idea. Put a little bit of wax on these edges. On tabs, and then they're gonna go into here and then onto parts a little bit of a pressure just to get that in. Guess I got a little bit too much. Try it again. Now it's gonna go in much easier. Let's see, this one's in and that one's in all the way, and then 25 on the other side, same thing. All the way in. So on both ends. Next step, just make sure once again with this tool that we don't break the actual pieces here. All right, next step are parts number 27 and 26. So let's do 27 first. Let's see, that's gonna be this side. So 27 is gonna go onto here and onto here, with a straight portion closer to the outer edges. Let's see, 27, they're on board number 2, bottom here. So I'm gonna start with those. And as I said, one side and then the other, I would put a little bit of wax on these little tabs that we're gonna be inserting it onto. So straight side on this, on the right, and then curved piece on the closer to the center here. Same thing we're doing on the other opposite end. Just like this, and then 26 is going to go on the bottom here. 26 are right above the 27 parts. Once again, need the tool to break it out. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a wax on the tabs. Just make sure that slides easier. And then once again, the curved portion is towards the inside onto this main piece, and then the straight portion gonna go onto the edges here. Right side and then left side. Alrighty. Then page number 18, parts number 28, 4 of them. And they're all gonna go onto the opposite side. And 28, they're top left corner. There are 4 of them. Alright, and they all gonna go with some wax again, all the little tabs. It'll help to slide the parts on. Alright, and then the straight piece is gonna be towards the outside. Correct? Towards the outside. And the curved pieces towards the inside. On the bottom, flip it over. Straight piece right next to the straight piece. Straight side, I guess, or whatever. That is, and then the other side. And I will complete these little parts. And that's step number 7. Alrighty. Then that's step number 8 on the bottom. We need parts number 29, 30, 31. So 29, they're on board number 1. 29 is right here. I guess that's the spare. Board number 2, they also have them. Board number 2 right here on the bottom left. 229s, helping tool. H tool, I guess. 30. Two of them. Let's see, take all the extra pieces out. They're not supposed to be there. And then 31. I'm supporting the board with my fingers on the bottom, so I don't like break all the other parts accidentally. All right, and here, same thing, the little tabs. I'm gonna put a little bit of wax on them just to make sure that they slide nice and easy on all the parts. So these connecting tabs. And the last one. Alright, so let's see, they go right here. The 29 obviously is going to be the shorter, so it's going to go on the bottom. 30 is a little bit larger piece. Make sure you fit into the little hole and push it in, and then 31 is the largest. And same thing on the opposite end. Make sure you match the holes before you start pushing it in. And let's see, theoretically they should be all flush. My other side, number 3 is not. There we go. All right, all 6 of them are flush. They're all good to go. And now we're on page number 19. Put the wings on, and let's see, we got parts number 32. Carefully removing it because it is a lighter, much thinner board, so you don't want to break these. You have 1 spare just in case. And then parts number 33. You got 4 of them, 2 spares and 2 just regular parts, just in case if the spare breaks off or something. So I do have a little bit of a slicing here, but that's fine. Split, the wood split. All right, so here we need to put wax on the outside of these little tabs on both ends. And then I put the wings, as the writing is facing you, you're putting the wings kind of like away from you. So the first one, and make sure all the way in. And then we lock it up with a part number 33. I'm going to use the helping tool here just to make sure I push it in all the way. Lock it up, and then the same thing on the other side. Push the wing all the way in, so the opening is big enough for you to push the little part number 33 in. And then I'm going to use the helping tool to lock it in. Now, as we wind it, it should start moving, kind of like what we did when it was opening, but it is a little heavier right now, so the motion on the movement is not going to be as smooth, but eventually it should start working through as you work it in. So it's also 5 times, but I'm assuming we need to go for another 5 minutes or so rather than 5 times. And as you can see, the more I do it, the easier it becomes and more consistent. So I just need to work it in to make sure the string goes back in. Careful working these in just to make sure that we don't break the wings. Let's keep on working on it. I'm gonna put on the side to see how much more I have left. So we're on page 19, page 11. We need to put a ring on. I'll wait to put it on until we work it through completely. That's why it is important to wax and sand all the parts that are shown. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to work it a little bit more. And I will get back to you once we work it through, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna pull the parts out that I need. So 34 I'm gonna put aside right now. I just want to clean up the space a little bit. Let's see, I'm on page number 21, and then page number 21 we need to assemble the little stand. So we need parts number 38. First step is 36 and 35, so 36 bottom right corner here. And then your 35 is on the left hand side. That's the largest, longest piece. So on this one, we're gonna wax all the tabs here on the bottom. And that's gonna go through part number 36, and then we put it on all the way in. And then you need parts number 37. They're on the left hand side. On board number 2, and then part number 38. And so that's the one with the UGears on it. So we do little tabs. Put wax on these guys. And then these gonna go into part number 38. With the thicker portion towards the back. They're right in the center here. 2 holes on the right and left hand side. Once again, towards the back, towards the thicker portion, the UGears logo here. And then the sub-assembly from the before, that's gonna go over these guys. Squeeze it all around, so we got 2 little feet here. And then we're gonna go on page number 22. We're gonna come back to that one. And there's part number 39 also on board number 2, top left corner here. And just put those into these little openings that are left, just to make it stable. Because these are sticking out. Nice little display. And then helping to get those in completely. All right, and that's your stand, and that's how this guy is gonna go on here. So there's a little holding tool, and it can sit like this. So pretty cool. Or a little towards the back, just like this. All right, so that's our finishes, our assembly, but let me play around with this guy a little bit to get it working. We're just going to be doing this for the next whatever, how many minutes until it takes the whole string back in. So I'll be back in a short moment. All right, so I played around with it a little bit. It's actually next day already, so I had it sitting just to see maybe it just settle on its own. That didn't really happen, so what I did, I pretty much just went back a little bit, and so I took off. It looks like there was some strain in the system, and it didn't, like when I pulled the string, it didn't come back all the way, if at all. So it was keep on getting stuck. Remove the wings, just carefully pop these little guys out. I took these three, I guess, decorative pieces, these three decorative pieces. And as I start taking like these little curved pieces halfway through, when I took the 28 off, kind of system released itself, so the string went back in, and then as I was putting each piece in, I was just checking, making sure that it was coming back, the string, that's the spring would wind back, and that would keep on doing it. Like as I was adding every single piece, I tried not to push it all the way in and like super hard. So pretty much the end result, what it gave me, it's now working, and as you release the spring mechanism, the snitch is going up, so it still needs a little bit of work in just to make sure that it gets most of the string. Then also remember, I had a little extra of the string, instead of like 1000 millimeters, I had probably about 1200, maybe 1300 or so, so extra 20 centimeters, and that's the slag that I have right now. So as you can see, this guy is going up the string, and then pretty much I need to release it as far as it can come back on its own. As I release the string, now I can tie up the little loop that I had set on the side. So I'll just do that, and let me cut off that extra string that is getting unwinded. Cut it off so it's not on the way. So the string, the idea is that this guy, when you pull the string, then it comes back and it actually sits right here in the spacing here. That's the way they suggesting you to tie it up. It doesn't have to sit there. I mean, it kind of looks pretty cool and slick if it just sits there. So I will not personally do it because I don't care if it dangles it a little bit. So so I'm just gonna do like tie it up a little bit higher, to make sure that I have enough slack on there, just in case if this thing pops or something, that I can grab on the string and have it, retied again. So once again, you do loop with the string, push the string through the loop, tie it up. Let's go one more time, through the loop, and then you go through make a little loop on the string, go behind it, inside, and I got another loop. Oh, come on, once I can catch it, I guess. And then one more, you go behind the main string, creating a loop, and then push the string through this loop, and you got another knot. So it should be nice and tight, double knotted. Cut off the excess string, and we're good to go. So that completes the assembly. Now this guy goes up, flipping its wings. And once again, you set it. There's like three little pieces on here that are sticking out. So this one's flush, this one's got a little cutout, that's where the deeper one goes, and then the one in the center is where it just sits. So that's the way it sits. Once again, if you got any parts broken during the assembly and they're not available as an additional part on the boards, feel free to contact us, info@ugears.us, or the manufacturer at customer service at ugearsmodels.com. Both of those websites, so ugearsmodels.com, they will come directly from the manufacturer. It takes a little bit longer for shipping. If you order from us, it takes a little bit quicker because we ship out of Illinois. If you purchase the product from us or from one of the local stores that we distribute to, you will get the part replacement from us for free as long as we have it available in stock. And then if you purchased it elsewhere, like Amazon, because I don't sell there, or a manufacturer's website, or brought it from Europe or whatever else, the replacement, you'll just need to pay for the shipping just to make sure that I can get the parts over to you, or you can go order directly from the manufacturer at no charge. Once again, if there are any questions contact us, leave the comment below in the video, or send us email, give us a phone call, and we'll try to answer all your questions as fast as we can. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next model. This was Dimitri with Ukidz LLC. And by the way, don't forget to visit our store, ukidstoys.com. That's our main store with all the other additional toys that we have in stock and available for sale. Plus, UGears is on there also. And if you just want to stick to UGears, that's UGears.us, main website. We'll ship from Illinois, and you'll get it pretty quick. Thank you. See you later.